This year, I've committed to myself that I am gonna have fresh flowers from my garden on my table as many days as I possibly can. And to do that, I have a huge list of focal flowers that I'm really excited about, and I shared a video all about that. You can check it out here. But you can't make bouquets if you don't have greenery and filler. As important as those flowers are, the other pieces are even more essential. And so because I know this, because I had a flower farm for 6 years, I'm not gonna make the mistake of forgetting to plant greenery and filler into my cut flower garden here in my home garden. And this is my list of the 10 varieties I'm the most excited to be growing this year. Before I get into the list though, I don't want to overwhelm and intimidate you guys with the fact that I have this huge list of greeneries that I want to be growing. One of the amazing things about cut flowers is there doesn't have to be any rules. And, you know, over the years of putting together arrangements, I've found that even if you don't have this greenery, it's pretty easy to find ways to fill it in. Things like trees. In the spring, I used to cut branches off of my cherry trees because the leaves wouldn't have been matured yet, right? A full-size cherry leaf is about this big. It doesn't look great in arrangement, but in the spring, the leaves were still quite small. I'd cut stems, you know, I'd basically prune my cherry trees, and I'd use those smaller leaved cherry branches to fill in for greenery to go along with my tulips. There's lots and lots of weeds too. Things you're like, get this out of my garden. I don't want this. Work amazing as greenery too. A very, very common, invasive, horrible weed that everyone wants to get rid of is spiny amaranth. But if you pick it quite immature before it has any of those spine flowers on it, the greenery looks really beautiful, I think, in arrangements. And, you know, honestly, like those green spike heads, I mean, they're a pain in the butt to pick, but they kind of look nice in arrangements too. So, you know, this is your own arrangement. You can do whatever you want. Another place that I found a huge amount of greenery for was I would plant herbs. I'd plant things like cilantro. I'd plant things like dill, parsley, all this kind of stuff. And then as the growing season would go on, it would bolt, it would go to seed. And I was like, oh, well, I can't eat this anymore, but I could pick it and put it in with my flowers and be a nice thing to take up space. So don't feel like you need to grow everything on my list here to have greenery for yourself, for your own home cutting garden. It's amazing what you can find out in the yard or out in the ditch. But if you want to grow it, here's my top 10. Thank you to Birch Living for sponsoring today's video. Birch Living is running their President's Day sale now, so head to birchliving.com/you-can't-eat-the-grass and check them out. Birch makes mattresses that are crafted with responsibly sourced materials such as organic cotton, organic wool, and 100% natural latex. Their mattresses are free from polyurethane foam, which can cause harmful off-gassing, and are constructed without fiberglass, which can be detrimental to your health. I was excited to get my new bed from Birch because I like knowing that the mattress I'm sleeping on is made with materials sourced straight from nature, which are both comfortable and durable. I'm 40, so I'm starting into some perimenopause, and sometimes I feel hot when I sleep. So the organic materials help keep me cool and regulate my body temperature when I have those moments. I ordered the Birch Luxe Natural Mattress, a premium upgrade to their original, well-loved Birch Natural mattress. The Birch Luxe mattress is comprised of 8 different layers of organic wool, organic cotton, and 100% natural latex. The Luxe model features an added quilted organic cotton pillow top, and the targeted zoned lumbar support provides enhanced contouring. The mattress has over 1,000 individually wrapped steel coils to cradle your body and limit motion transfer. I just got my Birch mattress, and so far I love it. But I have friends who have had theirs for over 2 years, and they have been gushing about how much they love their beds and highly recommending Birch. I really loved the experience of getting the bed. The compressed and rolled mattress in a box was super easy to get set up, and I never had to drag my kids into a store, wasting time and patience I really don't have. With your Birch mattress, you get a 100-night sleep trial, along with a 25-year warranty. The best part about all of this is that Birch delivers your mattress right to your door for free within the US. They also offer in-home setup and removal to make your buying experience as convenient as possible. I love my Birch mattress, and I think you would too. Birch's President's Day sale is live. Check out birchliving.com/youcan'teatthegrass to get 27% off your mattress with code BirchPartner27. Number 1 is Nigella Albion Black Pod. Now, Nigella is a spring flower that is grown for its pretty little blue flowers. They also come in like whites and stuff. I don't like it as a flower though. I find it to be like ratty and like difficult to pick and spindly, and I'm like, ugh, I don't have time for that. I have better things. I have better cut flowers to be growing in the spring. But this Nigella pod variety, this is another thing. So what you do with these is you let them flower and then they die and they create these pods, and the black is actually this really pretty purple color and just an amazing structural filler to add into your arrangements. And they also dry really well. So, you know, you can use a few of them in the spring when they're fresh, you know, probably have a couple weeks when they're available, but then you can just cut it out of your garden, hang them all up to dry, and then they're available to be added in all year long. I really, I could say really a gazillion times, that much I love structural elements in bouquets. Flowers, amazing. Greenery, so lush, it adds so much, but those like weird architectural pieces that you can put in with a pod like this, that's what really does it for me. So I'm definitely going to be having those in the garden. Another favorite structural element that I like adding in is amaranths that are not the weed kind, the ones that you grow specifically for arrangements. And if I was only gonna grow one variety, then I'd probably pick Coral Fountain. So the way that this grows is it grows up and then the pink coral flowers kind of hang down. It creates these kind of dreadlock rope pieces. And they look really pretty, kind of spilling out of the arrangement. You know, one of the things that's, you know, makes people good at arranging flowers is being able to have like asymmetrical shapes to their arrangement, and having hanging pieces like this is really, you know, important to being able to kind of add that extra glamour. And then the pink color of it is just gorgeous. This is more of like a summer fall feature that you can get. And then the other thing that I find with it is, so if you just grow one plant, amaranths can get massive. These things can get as tall as me. The cluster, the hanging cluster that you can get, you know, it's literally like the size of my head with all of my hair is how big it is. And, you know, that's not going to be super useful for an arrangement on my table. Amazing if you're doing like wedding work and you're building an arch or something, but I'm not going to be building that in my house. So my trick for being able to get more usable tassels is that instead of pinching it, that's one thing that some people do. They grow them and then they pinch them off when they're quite small, and then it sends up offshoots. What I do instead is I actually direct seed my amaranth, and if I have like a space this big where I'm going to be planting it, I'll put like 20 seeds in there. I'll let like 10 stems all grow up like together, and they'll be competing with each other so much that they won't be able to grow very large plants. And then because of that, every single one will make a very manageable tassel without having to do a lot of like fussing and primping. And they'll be a lot shorter in the garden too, which makes it a little bit easier to manage, like when you don't have things spilling out all over the place. So little trick there. If I could pick two amaranths, the other one that I'd pick is Hot Biscuit. It has this beautiful tan color, almost like a golden warm brown, and so amazing for the fall. And it's more of the traditional plume type shape. So love those ones too. And I do the same trick of growing a million, so the plume isn't this big, it's, you know, this big. Number 3 is Ammi, and specifically Green Mist. Now this is what I call like a filler. This is still something that I use as a greenery, but it is the flower that I'm picking off of it. These are a disc type flower, but they really add these amazing structural shapes again into arrangement, and they they kind of, I find they really elevate the look of something. You know, it's almost like adding like smoke into the arrangement. Green mist is my favorite because the way the plant grows is a lot more easier to maintain. And one of the things that's really incredible about green mist is it has this incredible scent. It almost has like a citrusy sweetness to it. It smells like nothing else that I've grown before, but is probably one of my favorite scented flowers on the entire farm. So not only does it add this, you know, really pretty element to arrangements, but it also adds scent. So yeah, amazing. And it's kind of like it's like a greeny white color. It's almost like has some chartreuse tones to it, which is, you know, those are my favorite colors of all. So definitely grown some of those. Number 4 is Bells of Ireland. And, you know, it's kind of a flower too. I definitely use it as a filler greenery because it's bright. It's like a lime green color flower. And it also has just the incredible smell to it. If you use enough of them, the smell will really like fill the room. It enjoys like the cooler spring weather. So it's kind of an earlier blooming one. It kind of starts like late spring, early summer, and will like go into the summer. But just beautiful, beautiful. And yet again, this is a common theme. Like I like those structural elements. I like those architectural elements. So it's not necessarily like frilly and ferny is the greenery that it's adding in. It's adding in this very kind of like brutalist hard look of these, like, you know, it's a spike with little cups on it. And, you know, I love making an arrangement that has like 3 or 4 of them kind of filling in as the base. It changes the look from something that could be very soft and romantic into something that I consider very modern. Number 5 is something I'd consider a little bit more traditional, Basil Aramatto. And so this is a great summer to fall filler. It is a basil. And what you want to do is you want to plant them quite close to each other because you want to force it to get really leggy. You want it to not be like a short bushy plant. And it is a cinnamon basil, so it has like a darker purple tone. I really enjoy the smell of it. Like I love the spicy cinnamonness to it when you harvest it. It's like it gets on your hands and it smells amazing. But I also like that it's not green, right? You can create some really dramatic arrangements when you have this kind of darker tone as your filler kind of base note. You know, it's really fun to play with. And here in the summer, because we get heat, I also find it really, really simple to grow. You can direct seed it, just get it out in the garden once it's warm, let it do its thing, and you know, you can have armfuls of filler off of it quite simply. Number 6 is something that I've been wanting to grow for years and I just never got around to it. It's Euphorbia, or Snow on the Mountain. This is a really traditional filler. It's a green filler with like white variegation. You will see this in a lot of arrangements. When it gets to the point that it flowers, it has little white cluster flowers that, you know, it's just a filler. But the look of it is like really formal and really traditional, and it's also really simple to grow. It gets quite tall. I know some people are a little bit cautious about growing it because the sap can cause like photosensitivity, but like honestly, the sap off of like Ammis and carrots and all those types of things in that family do the exact same thing. So as long as you're wearing like gloves and you have long sleeves on when you're out in the garden, which like I recommend doing that anyways, just there's a lot of things that, you know, is good to protect yourself from in the garden. But if you do that, then you shouldn't have anything to worry about. Yeah, I'm really excited to experiment with it. I don't know how it's gonna do with the heat, so I'm probably gonna try it in a few different spots in my yard. But it's something that should get me summer to fall greenery. 7 is a grass, lime millet specifically. I love grasses. The grass seed heads in an arrangement, beautiful, beautiful, you know, structural, greenery elements. You don't have to grow a grass to be able to get this. Most of the year you can probably find a grass seed head that you can pick. And you also don't have to grow grasses. Grains, things like wheats and stuff like that, all make amazing fillers. But if I had to pick, because like, if I'm honest, on the farm, I probably had 10 different varieties of grasses that I grew. But the simplest and easiest and kind of most versatile is the lime millet. It's a cluster. I grew them quite close together, so yet again they were smaller seed heads, but just really pretty. It was frilly, like kind of fuzzy, but then it also, you could see the little like millet seeds on it. Just really nice. And if you don't end up picking it, it's great for like the little songbirds too. They absolutely love getting in there and getting in on the seeds. So you could grow some and save them as like winter bird feed too. Number 8 is more of a like early summer filler that I really enjoyed having on the farm, and that is Monarda, wild bergamot, and it's a bee balm. So, but this variety is like, it's not like other bee balms. Most other bee balms I find like they kind of send up like a spike, and then they have the flower on the top, and the leaves are kind of, it's the normal bee balms that you like buy at a nursery and you normally have in your garden are a lot more formal looking. Whereas this like wild bergamot, it kind of looks a bit like a weed. So it's like really bushy. It sends out lots of side branches. And then it does flower, but the flowers are kind of like ratty. They're not super structured. But so the thing that I like it for isn't for the flowers, it is for the filler. I often pick it with the flowers on, but it's like the cluster of leaves that I really enjoy about it. And one plant gets quite large and quite bulky, so you could grow like a couple of them and get a lot of picking done off of it. It's a perennial too, so it'll come back year after year. So if you have like a little corner where you could put some of these in, they kind of could just do their thing and provide a lot of greenery, kind of give you a whole month of greenery before you start to get into some of these more summer ones. Number 9 is Carthamus or safflower, and Zanzibar is the variety that I grow. I love this. This is like amazing, and it's like perfectly adapted to our weather here. It likes the heat, it likes the dry, it's really drought tolerant. It's spiky. I'm pretty sure the Zanzibar variety is less spiky than a normal safflower, but it's like it has these really like structural leaves on it, and then it gets these like seed pod type heads that have like a little tuft of orange as their flower, and they just look so cool. Amazing filler. The way I'd been growing it is I like would cut the whole plant off, and then I'd use like the single stem as like a poof of like fillerness in a bouquet, and I could kind of have like one, and it'd be like put it in, and then I like just fit all the other flowers in, and it did a really good job. But you could also kind of have them be a little bit smaller, kind of cut them to have branches. You probably deadhead and get side branches that would maybe be a little bit more usable, for it to not be so overwhelming in arrangements. This is another like summer one, and the safflower, it dries really well too. So this is something that, you could pick what you need for your arrangements, dry some, and then have them for over the winter. And then finally, number 10 is Bupleurum, and the variety I grow is green gold, and this is a perfect spring filler. It's very thin little stems, and then it comes and it has these clusters of like chartreuse flowers on the end. Very pretty, very delicate, and quite formal. It's something that you use it and it can make a bouquet like really romantic, really, just really gorgeous. It's one of those ones that is, you get a good pick off of it. You probably get about a month of use on like a single planting, but it's not going to take you through the entire season. So it's something that you plant and then you kind of like move it out. But it's great to have it there for that early season. So I'm really excited about my list. I think with the list, I think with what I have there, that should cover me pretty well. Obviously, I'll still need to do some foraging, and there is some other things that, you know, I will be growing, stuff like raspberries. Raspberries make a great greenery. But I think with that list, I'm gonna have a pretty good base for being able to have filler for my arrangements for most of the year. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get to the point when I'm not just dreaming about growing these things, but I actually have the seeds in my hand and the plants in my hand and the flowers in my hand, and you know, I'm going to be able to bring this all together. So hopefully you found that list helpful and useful, and I think that most of these varieties are available at Johnny Seeds.